as both a teaching aid and for outreach. So go ahead, Stephanie.
Sure. Hello. Nice to see a lot of familiar names on there. I'm happy to be here. I wish you all were here, though, instead of on Zoom, because it's always so awkward. And I'm doing this from my phone so that I could take you on a tour of the greenhouse. So we'll see how it works. But first, I'm going to flip the camera here so I can show you some slides. Is that clear?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So in front of the Radford University greenhouses, let me actually jump back and just tell you a little bit about the history of what's happened here. There was previously a greenhouse. It actually was started in like the 84 or 86, something like that. And it closed about, let's see, I've been here 2 years, so I guess close to 4 years ago. They closed the greenhouse when they were doing renovations to Reed and Curie halls. And they were actually had talked at that time about tearing down the greenhouse, but people advocated for it and they ended up renovating it along with the buildings. So it was closed for 2 to 3 years. And there was a greenhouse manager previous who also taught in biology. But he had retired and then they closed it for a couple years. And it just worked out well for me because I was ready for a change, and this turned out to be a great change. I'm really enjoying Radford and the biology department, and it's been a lot of fun to get the greenhouse up and running. When they were doing the renovations, they built some raised beds out front of the greenhouse that the grounds department was going to be planting with annuals. They do a lot of red begonias around here, which are fine. I don't have anything against red begonias, but I asked if we could put in native plants in those beds, and they were like, no, facilities, the grounds people aren't going to maintain those. I was like, well, I'll maintain them along with the greenhouse. Anyway, they initially said no, but I drew up a big plan and, picked all of the plants that I want and said, we're going, that we'll be using it for classes as well as outreach. And it's both a native plant garden as well as a pollinator garden. And I had the director of facilities up here and gave the spiel to him, and he said we'd give it a try. But it turned out really nice, and he actually reached out and said that he's quite pleased with it. So I'm happy about that, and I'm hoping that he's going to, since he's pleased with the native plant beds, that he's going to allow us to expand. We'd like to do some vegetable gardens and stuff around the building, but anyway, we will see what happens there. But the plants for this native plant garden all came from Wood Thrush Native Plant Nursery out of Floyd. Ian suggested certain plants for this particular site because it's definitely in full sun, and we needed plants that were going to do well in this situation. I saw something pop up saying, asking why we chose natives, I think. It's like popped up and then went away. So I was trying to read it while I was talking.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see the chat on my phone here.
Oh,
so you'll have to note those. Is that what it said though? Why did we choose natives?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why did you plant native plants?
Mm-hmm. Right. So we offer several plant courses here in the biology department at Radford, and one of them is Flora of Virginia. And so there's also research. Some of the faculty do research on pollinators. And so that's why I chose to incorporate natives, and I didn't want more red begonias in front of the building. So that's why I chose. I'm teaching the Flora of Virginia class this semester, and I actually have some pictures in here of how my students, how we've utilized this space. So I will show you that. So we have a nice mix of plants here. This is, oh my, I'm just going to point to them, I guess, right? This is a really nice penstemon. I love penstemons because of their tubular flower, you know, and the bees are in there and their butts are sticking out. And that's just one of my favorite things about the penstemons. This is actually a, I guess, nativar that you would consider this. Let's see if I, right here, can you see that? Monarda. It's a fistulosa. It's a, I guess, a variety of fistulosa that is called, what is that one called? Rebecca's pink. And I'll tell you what, I have been incredibly impressed with that plant. It flowered for so long, such a beautiful color. We collected seed from it. It came up very readily from seed, and it's been quite impressive. Okay, let's see. I know I'm gonna try and hold this with my left hand while I switch slides with my right. Boy, this takes a lot of coordination late in the day after a long day. I don't know if I have that coordination yet alone. Oh, so that's just another picture of that Monarda fistulosa that I love. And we have, of course, some Asclepius in there. That's purpurescence. That was lovely. Oh, I just forgot of a picture I didn't include in there. Darn it. I was sitting outside here having lunch one day with a friend, and this was later in the season, of course, but there was a monarch butterfly that had just emerged from a chrysalis that was hanging off there. Darn it. And I have a great picture, and I don't think I put that in here for some reason. Oh,
Brenda, I can't see anything but you. Are you sharing the screen? I don't see there. Now I see it.
Oh, it's gone.
Oh,
are you able to see this?
I'm
I
seeing
was, but then I can't now again.
I had seen it, so,
Yeah, I'd seen it and it went off.
okay. Let me try, let me get.
Must be really hard from a phone to do it. Yeah, I know it must be hard.
I'm not, I still see the Stephanie's flower pictures.
I don't see him at all.
I do.
I do.
Okay, just a second, and let me see if I can get to, see if I can just change it to, make co-host. Okay. See if that's any better, Stephanie. I did you as a co-host, so you should be able to share the screen then. But I know we'd seen it okay
Right. Well,
earlier.
I'm not really sharing. I mean, because
There we
I
go.
just has this as a camera, and so it's not really it's not really sharing the screen. I didn't change anything on
It's
here. I
back
think
now. It's back.
okay. Is it good? Should I continue?
Yes, I think as long as you're
I'll
talking,
later, I
you're
guess.
there.
Right. I think I was just going to say something about that. I've been in the many Zoom things. I think if like others mute their microphones, that makes a difference, because the camera, you know, the Zoom picks up on whomever's talking.
Okay, I think everyone's muted, so we should
Okay.
be okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing a different screen here as well. I see which makes it hard for, all right. Anyway, I will continue. What else? We have a nice agastache that is in that bed. We fit a lot of plants in this little bed, so we will definitely be having to do some dividing at some point. That's a picture. Let's see, make sure I can get that all in there. That's a picture from out front. So it's just directly in front of the greenhouse there. Mostly here you see the Asclepius. Eryngium here, the rattlesnake master, which isn't necessarily native to our immediate region. And we have many of the tall delphinium as well. A little prickly pear that actually flowered. They've established really quickly because I was teaching a sustainable gardening course last year, and my students helped plant this. But we have the columbine, the aquilegia, and more monarda, different coreopsis, the symphotrichum, the smooth aster back there. Oh, that's a tall delphinium that fasciated. So that was a good teaching lessons for students about mutations. And there's just some of my students that were collecting seed. We collected seed from a lot of the plants and started some of the seed. And I was actually quite surprised how many germinated. And we have a nice collection of plants that we started from the seed that we collected. And then we also collected additional seed that we have packaged, or that we actually have yet to package them in envelopes, but they picked the seed and processed some of the seed. We left quite a lot of course, for the birds and all, but we're going to share that seed with different groups that are starting native plant gardens, also some of the plants as well. I imagine that you have talked with Nicole Hirsch with Plant Southwest Virginia Natives, the initiative.
Right.
That
Our
campaign.
chapter is helping out with her.
Yeah, so I worked with her. She's actually coming to talk with my class tomorrow because we're talking about using natives in the landscape. And anyway, she has some different groups with whom we'll be sharing the plants and seeds that we've collected. So anyway, there's my students processing the seeds, which, they pick them, but then processing them as a whole, it's a time-consuming effort there. So students get bored with it. Oh, that I just stuck on there because that was a sad loss here at Radford. The champion basswood died this past year. Well, it broke in half this past year. So that was a national champion, Tilia americana. And you could see that it completely rotted in the inside. And literally this enormous tree just broke in half. It was pretty amazing. Oh, and that's just my little carnivorous plants I saw in the wild. Okay, I was going to show you just a quick, some of there's not a ton flowering in the greenhouse right now, and just kind of show you what it looked like before. So this is when I first, well, actually, I guess I've been here a little bit because there weren't even floors when I first came. But they have this, is the backbone of the greenhouse that was here. There's this kind of moat, this water moat that goes around this very strange, there's like this pit behind this wall out there. I have some pictures of that. And then there's this water moat that they were actually going to fill in, but I encouraged them to leave it, which I may be regretting. I don't know. It's always a challenge to figure this out, but we will see what it's looking like now. So there's the strange pit that is kind of weird. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? But you will see it now. There's my son. That's what it's looking like now. We'll go in the greenhouse and see it. But that's my son watering all the big tropicals that are in there. He loves going in that pit. We have a propagation bench that we use for a variety of classes. This picture was actually from my sustainable gardening course, the students starting different herb and vegetable seeds. And these are just some flowers that I thought I'd stick on there since there's not a ton flowering right now. This is the Mimosa pudica, the sensitive plant.
I love that one. I've grown that before.
Yeah, it's got such a cool flower. If the mealybugs would just leave it alone, that'd be great. And we have a starter orchid collection. So that's a Vanda orchid. I'll show you our orchids that we have when we go into the greenhouse, and that's an Oncidium orchid. That's a cool plant, the Clitoria, which is a Fabaceae pea family plant, but it's an amazing electric blue color. This is a very large agave that flowered. So it's like the century plant. So it's it was a very large plant. And once it flowers, then the old main plant dies out and little new plantlets are produced. So this had flowered, actually, maybe some of you know John Ogburn. This belonged to him, and it was just so tall, and he was like, this would be perfect for you to take to the greenhouse. So I got it in my husband got it in his truck, and we brought it to the greenhouse to for it to flower, and it was quite amazing. Let's see, it's a little walking iris. That's quite lovely. Some of our bromeliads. An adenium flowering, which has a really cool flower structure. I don't know if you could see that, and it doesn't look so clear on my phone as it does on my computer. An Aristolochia, that's a more tropical species of Aristolochia. We have our native Aristolochia as well, but this is a tropical species. And that's a Stapelia. That is an interesting, really interesting flower. And oh, what happened there? Oh, sorry, I had something pop up on my phone there. The Stapelia, oh yeah, so this is one of those plants that are pollinated by flies in its native habitat. So it's a super cool flower, but it's super stinky as well. That is a night blooming cereus, beautiful flower. That was another plant donated by John Ogburn that I have mounted on the wall. And that's a Selenocereus, the star fruit, which was something that I did not realize. So we had this Selenocereus, which is, like one of the night blooming, the tropical cactus, and it produced this fruit, and I kept looking at it and I'm like, gosh, that looks like a dragon fruit, that you'd see at the grocery store and stuff. And so I cut it open and I'm like, it is a dragon fruit. And then I looked it up, and sure enough, it's a dragon fruit. I honestly had no idea that a dragon fruit came from a tropical cactus. That was new to me in this past year. So that was pretty cool. And we have, well, I'll show you our bananas, but they flowered and have produced bananas. It's amazing how quickly some of these plants have grown. And I only planted them, but 18 months ago. So you'll see when we go in the greenhouse how large some of them have gotten. And we even have some pollinators in the greenhouse. I guess that's a little skipper or something that is on this Phalaenopsis orchid, actually. But they're fluttering around. Okay, so that is all on there. So I'm going to walk you through my office to the greenhouse so I can show you. We have a lovely potting room. I could show you our potting room real quick, because it's very nice to have a potting room. We have great workspace here. It's probably always a mess, but it's really nice to have this wonderful workspace and not make such a mess of the greenhouse. Lots of our native plant seeds that we have collected. Look at tons of Asclepias seed there. We have lots of native plant seeds. Okay, let's go into the greenhouse. I have turned off the fans, and luckily the heaters aren't kicking on because it's quite warm out. So the greenhouse has 3 different sections. This particular section, there's always, let's see, without putting this up to the light, there's always a shade cloth on it. So plants in here are those that prefer more shade, of course. When choosing the plants for the greenhouse, the purpose is to use the greenhouse as a teaching resource and then also as outreach. We have found that the students really enjoy visiting the greenhouse. I have many students that come through every day just to come check it out because they like it. And so we have started a plant club here at Radford that is for faculty, staff, and students. And we've had an overwhelming response to the plant club. So I actually have 3 different sections of the plant club that students, and they come and we talk about, you know, a certain group of, whether we're talking about ferns or xeric plants, but we'll talk about, you know, a certain group of plants, or we'll learn about how to properly take stem cuttings of plants. And the students, faculty, and staff have really enjoyed it. So we just had some meetings yesterday, and we'll have our last Friday group will come this Friday, and then we'll be done for the semester and start up again next semester. But the plants that I chose, some of them have been donated. Whenever I initially came here, I had to buy plants quickly because the budget was closing. And I can only buy from I could only have 2 different suppliers. So it was really challenging to decide what plants to put in here. I knew I wanted to have different collections of plants, you know, like a collection of ferns and orchids and succulents, and have, you know, do some informative information about, you know, adaptations for those different plants and that kind of thing. So it's always a work in progress. Again, they just finished this greenhouse. I've been here almost 2 years, and I was here for a good 6 months before I was able to even start putting plants in the greenhouse. So it's all quite new, but I'll tell you what, I'm really surprised to how quickly the plants have grown. So it's been a lot of fun. And so I don't have it against I am teaching during the semester, so it's hard to find time to do all of the interpretive signage and such that I intend to do eventually. But it'll all come with time. So yeah, we just have a nice collection of different plants. Of course, this time of year, some are starting to go dormant. So that's what I have, some signs like this that says, I'm not dead, I'm just resting, or dormant, because of that Aristolochia is currently in its dormant state. I just noticed that this little Clivia is starting to put up some flowers, which is quite nice. We have, again, just a variety. There's some, well, I need to rearrange our orchids so they're all in one place, but we have quite a number of epiphytic orchids. Well, most orchids that you grow indoors are epiphytic. We have this very large monstera that has these amazing aerial roots that you can see here, you know, and its native habitat. It's native to very tropical rainforest type regions. And so they produce these aerial roots that help them to climb up the canopy to get light, and also absorb moisture. So it's a monster monstera. It is humongous. And it's actually recently cut it back in a few spots because it's just so large. Let's see, I'm trying to move slowly. We do have a different collection of orchids. We have some hanging up here. There's a little bit of signage about the orchids. We have this guy is kind of hiding behind the monstera. I don't know how well you see that, but this is a vanilla orchid. I love whenever there's new foliage coming out because it's so shiny. But this will eventually produce vanilla beans, from which our vanilla flavoring comes from. So many people aren't aware that vanilla comes from an orchid, but that is pretty cool. And I was excited because I started those from cuttings, that somebody gave me the cuttings, and I was excited to root those and get them going. I had not done that before. What else? So here we have a collection of quite a variety of ferns. That's getting too large. But we have some really neat fern. There's the epiphytic staghorn fern. So that is on top of we have a tank here that has a tarantula in it, which surprisingly, she's not out right now, but it's nighttime. She's nocturnal, but I do have the lights on. I could see her one leg in there. So these are many lovely shade plants. We have a large Australian tree fern in the side there that I've been trying to decide what exactly I want to do with that. I've considered planting it down in the pit, but it releases little hairs that get into your skin and clothes, and I don't know what I want to do with it. Right now I have it in the corner. We'll see what happens. What else? I have this, I like these lycopodiums that I have down here hanging underneath. They're very primitive plants that are quite cool. I wish I could get my picture. It's so small what I am showing you. I hope that you are able to see it. And then some plants like this large ficus, this fiddle leaf fig is starting to grow. I need to do some pruning on that guy because it is starting to get enormous. But just like I said, not even 18 months ago, that was only but 3 feet tall. So it's just, I can't believe how quickly some of these plants have grown. They're just, obviously that's perfect environment in the greenhouse. But they are all thriving very nicely. We have this lovely Hoya that smells quite nice. It has some cute little flowers on it right now. All of the students love this Hoya because the leaves are heart-shaped, which are cute. But it's a vining plant that has also grown very quickly. And we have some more orchids. None of them are blooming right now, but we have a nice collection of maxillaria. There's another vanilla orchid. We have some phalaenopsis, maxillarias, dendrobium. Sorry, I have to climb up over some of these to get to the other ones. Some other dendrobians and oncidium orchids. There's a phalaenopsis that has some flower spikes that will be flowering soon. Okay, let me go into our next space here. So this is the largest open space, and there's just, honestly, this room's just kind of a hodgepodge right now. I really need to, I have a few collections, I guess, in here. I have like our bromeliads. There's a nice collection of bromeliads that are on one side. And what other collections do we have in here? It's pretty much, like I said, a hodgepodge. I was excited about our cycad that produced a cone. That's kind of exciting. You know, it's a very, very primitive plant that was around in the dinosaur age. They were like tree size at that time, of course, but it is a conifer and so produces a cone like that. So that is a super cool plant. We were excited that it produced. Let's see what else we want to show you in here. There's just if this. Oh, it actually opened. This is a crinum. Those lights are kind of glaring, I noticed. Anyway, it has a really, really long stalk, but then one of the flowers finally have opened. It's got several buds on it, you can see. But that actually just opened this evening. That was not open earlier in the day. It's not a night bloomer, it just must be a coincidence. So what else? Lots going on in here. Again, just a bunch of random plants. We have a very large ficus. One of the master gardeners were moving and contacted me and said, would you want my big ficus? And so I went there and I was like, wow, that is a big ficus, but she's really thrilled to see that it has a good home and how well that it has established. I'm trying to move slowly. So these on the back benches here, we continually propagate plants. My students and I have a couple of work study students that work in the greenhouse that help out. And we're always propagating and starting new plants to share with other people. So we have random plant giveaways. We'll just set up a table out front of the greenhouse and give away free plants, which is super fun. And the students love it, or anybody that's passing by is able to get them. So that's where we constantly have a supply of giveaway plants here. Right now we have a bazillion spider plants and a good number of aloe vera as well. So good for the students to have. This is our propagation bench. We have a very small little hydroponic thing set up there with some little greens growing in there. And this is our propagation bench that we have a variety of plants growing on here. One of my students was doing some research in the field on golden seal and brought back some seed that we were very excited. Well, I'm actually weeding the other darn artillery plant that ends up everywhere, but we were excited to see that the golden seal had actually germinated, that he had collected from the field. So we have the golden seal growing here. And then we do currently have some of our native plants that we've collected seeds. Some of them we started in the greenhouse and some of them we started outside in pots beside the greenhouse because I just wasn't sure which way they were going to work better. But I'll tell you what, the ones in the greenhouse certainly germinated quickly and have done very nicely. So we have, that Monarda that I had mentioned has gone, that one, I think we had a really high percentage of a germination rate on that Monarda. So I'll be interested to see if it comes true to that variety that it is, whether, it looks the same or not, I don't know. And then the Aquilegia, the Columbine, we had a really high germination rate with that as well. What else? We have some coneflower, but that was not seed we collected. The Coreopsis, that was another, that darn artillery plant is everywhere. Sorry, I can't help but weed things when I see them. But that Coreopsis had a really nice germination rate. We have a ton of that Monarda. That's our main thing that germinated mostly. And it just produced so much seed. It was quite impressive. what else? The allium, the nodding onion, those are still kind of small, but most of those germinated as well. So it's been fun. And we do have some outside, but it's going to be too dark to show you what we have outside right now. So we have quite a bit of plants that we'll be donating to some different groups. Nicole will be coming tomorrow and we're going to discuss that. Okay, I'm going to slowly walk into the other space. Something that to mention as I'm walking by and seeing mealy bugs. Yes, see the mealy bugs. Yeah, you know, with a greenhouse, I am forever fighting pests. That's just a given with the greenhouse. But the biggest challenge is that I have been working my best to manage the greenhouse organically. And thus far, I've been doing so. So I'm not interested in spraying harsh chemicals because I just don't like them. And I just, for whatever reason, I have this that I'm going to manage this place organically. So I only spray neem oil or insecticidal soaps. I spray on a weekly basis. And then in between spraying, the challenge is it's often sunny and it has to be cloudy to spray a lot of these because there's a lot of phytotoxic effects with both the neem oil and the insecticidal soap. So now that it is starting to get dark earlier, that makes it a little easier for me to spray. And I don't necessarily have to come in at night to do so. What was I saying? Oh, so in between spraying, and I just flip-flop between those two. Actually, I have a couple different formulations of insecticidal soap that I use, and then the neem oil. And then I have a dormant oil as well that I use occasionally. But in between those, one of the things that I have found to be super effective is power washing the plants. So it makes a mess and I get soaking wet doing it, but I have, sorry, I know I'm walking fast, but I have this great little nozzle that goes on the end of the hose and you can control the spray of water. Oh, there goes the heater's kicking on, darn it. I'm gonna go into here real quick because I can't hear myself. But you can control the spray of water. And so I know certain plants that are, you know, more pest ridden than others. And so I literally just power wash them from head to toe. And it's a lot of work. And then the other thing is keeping the greenhouse as neat as I can, as far as not having a lot of debris on the ground and such, or in the pots of the plants, because that is definitely a place that harbors pests. So that's something my work study students, we have a nice shop vac that they vacuum the greenhouse and clean the pots, clean the surface of the pots, clean, you know, old dead leaves off and flowers, because that really helps in lessening places for pests to harbor. So that's something that we're forever, it's our forever challenge. Let's see, we don't have too much flowering right now. There is a couple of tropicals. I cannot hear, I'm sorry. I have to go back in this room because that heater in there, I just cannot hear with it. It's quite loud. So hopefully in here, the heat does not kick on. Because those are, I did turn the other fans off, but I don't think I could turn the heaters off. Let's see, we have a small collection of carnivorous plants that are fun, but always challenging, as carnivorous plants are. So I'm still trying to figure out where they're most happy in the greenhouse, and which need to go through a dormancy. Actually, John Ogburn just gave me a Nepenthes, a nice tropical pitcher plant. So I look forward to that one putting on some pictures. It doesn't have them yet. Okay, let's see. I'm going to slowly turn here. And so this is that, I showed you the pictures of that pit. So this is that strange pit. planted, it's all major tropicals in here. But I planted, there's a few different bananas that have gotten very large. You can see they're going to the roof. And it is amazing. So this particular banana has, like I said, I only planted it less than 18 months ago, and I have literally cut it back to the ground 3 times already, and it grows up that quickly. It's crazy, but it's fun. And there's some different colocasias and alocasias in there with the big leaves. Crazy enough, there's this coleus. Let me go over to that one. It was up on the second floor. Oh, there's the nepanthes that John gave me that I have hanging here. This coleus was up on a windowsill for the longest time when I first came here, and nobody was ever watering it. So it was always looking so sad. And so I was watering it, and then I was like, I started asking around, who does this belong to? Nobody seemed to know, so I took it because nobody was taking care of it anyway. And I ended up planting it down in this pit, and it got huge. It is like a monster coleus. I don't know if you could really see from there how big, but it has done so amazingly well in here. It's crazy. It's been a lot of fun. Okay, so this is a red banana that also, it's weird with the lights. This is like only the second time I've ever been in here with the lights on. But this is another very large banana that flowered and has fruit. So that's actually a bract. And then the flowers, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't fall into the water here because I'm straddling the water. But this is a bract. You can see the banana flowers right here. And so this bract has different layers. You can see all of the layers that have opened. Not all of them have produced hands of bananas, but some of them have. So these are the little baby bananas. And of course, they will not get as large as, the bananas that you buy in the store, because those are particularly bred to be of certain size and certain sugar content, texture, all of that kind of thing. But it's been really fun. So many of the students come in here and they had no idea how bananas grow. So it's really cool for them to be able to see some of these things. We also have, let's see, let me slowly go over here. This is kind of the herbs and edibles section. We have our bananas in there, and then we have a variety of different herbs and annuals. But we have a few different gingers. This is a really interesting ginger here. This is the awapui ginger, and it creates what look like cones. They're not truly cones. I don't know if there's any flowers right now on any of them. I don't think so. But the awapui ginger these are actually bracts, and they'll put out flowers that come from those bracts. But I think the students one of my students posted a Instagram video or something showing about this particular plant. And if you squeeze it, it exudes this, maybe you can see it right there. It exudes a lot of the stuff that it exudes is awapui that they use in shampoo and stuff. And so anyway, it smells like ginger, and it's really very cool. But a lot of them are dry because the students have been in here since they saw the video. They've been in here squeezing them. So anyway, we have a couple gingers that have the edible rhizome that we have gotten too big, some of them. And then some mint. This is a Mexican sweet shrub that is ridiculously sweet. If you have just the tiniest little piece of this leaf, it is like similar to stevia, but even sweeter than stevia. It's pretty amazing. What else? This is a little dwarf pomegranate that has started to put out some fruit. We have some avocados that are from my lunch, from seeds from my lunch. Pineapple. Something that we were excited recently is our star fruit tree that was struggling with a scale infestation for a while, but it does get lovely little flowers. But I was super excited to see that it has finally held on and to a fruit that is actually maturing. So we're pretty excited about that because this whole plant was almost a goner not long ago. So it's got a few different fruits on it that will hopefully get to maturity. Okay, let's see. Next, we have a collection of different succulents. Succulents are fun, that's like a big thing with students right now. They're very into succulents, but it's great for them to learn about the different adaptations that plants have to be able to live in arid conditions. So that's something that we very much focus on whenever we're talking about this group of succulents. We have a rather mature jade plant there that was another donation from John Ogburn. He set us up with some nice mature plants. Again, this is we have quite a lot of different succulents. I imagine just kind of going quickly. There's not anything that's blooming, but just different. That's Stapelia, that starfish flower, which is pretty interesting. We have several different cacti that have different adaptations, have different types of hairs and spines that protect the plants. That one has quite the incredible spines. Let's see, what else can we do with this? Those are some different agaves that we have. That's the blue agave that they use for tequila. We have a collection of aloe. That's of course the aloe vera, but there's several different species of aloe. We have about, I guess, 5 different species of aloe. Let's see, and oh, actually, it's too dark up there, I think, to see the Caesalpinia. That has beautiful flowers, but I think I'm not sure if we can see that. It's pretty dark up there. But these are, again, planted down in that pit. So some of them have gotten quite tall. I almost wish we had some more space in that pit. Oh, so this, we also, around the pit is the water moat that I have totally rigged up because I didn't know what I was doing. But I have, so this is the water wall. that just has a very slight drip of water that comes out of it. But it's just I have a pump down there and then have this black hose that needs hidden again right there. But I just have moss over it and I just cut holes in it with my pocket knife. Not exactly, I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but I don't know that better way. So anyway, it's actually held up pretty well. And it's interesting to see what plants. I do have a couple of carnivorous pitcher plants that are on a couple little shelves that have done quite nice. It's interesting to see what plants will tolerate living in this on this wall. So I have changed some out and I just kind of see what works and what doesn't, trial and error. That's how it goes. But yeah, this whole water thing around it's just very interesting, but there's no way. The problem that I have is there's no way to have the water constantly circulating because it's cemented in over there. So anyway, it's always a challenge, but nonetheless, it's kind of a cool spot. We do have some nice pitcher plants that have been done well on the top of the wall there. Some different cyperus in there, the papyrus that's here. Well, that's dark. Where our bananas flowering or fruiting in 3 different spots. So it's kind of neat.
I thought cremation, it feels so.
So that is about everything. I mean, there's, of course, I can talk about individual plants, but I thought we can maybe see if anybody has questions and also invite you to come visit sometime. So particularly when the semesters are not in, I certainly welcome visitors. If you just get in touch with me to make sure that I'm going to be around and available, I certainly invite anybody that would like to come check it out.
There are several questions in the chat, if I can read them out to you, Stephanie.
Of course.
Bruce Grimes said that butterfly you saw was an orange sulfur butterfly.
Ah, very nice.
Okay. And Carol Schwabel would like to know what classes and how many do you teach in a semester?
So they started off having me teach 2 classes, and I let them know that it is too much because all of the classes that I'm teaching are new classes to me. So I have, starting them from scratch. And so that's a lot of work. And then also trying to maintain, populate and get this greenhouse how we want it and maintain the greenhouse. So I let them know that 2 classes is too many, each of those having a lab. So I have taught a variety, pretty much every semester I've taught a different class. Actually, when I first started working here, they were in a pinch and stuck me on human biology. And at that time I was reconsidering whether I made a good move in coming to Radford, because I was not interested in teaching human biology, and it certainly is not my expertise. So anyway, but I guess that's kind of how it goes at a small university. But I let them know that I was not at all happy to teach human biology. So they assured me that would never happen again. And since I have taught a sustainable gardening course, I have taught environmental biology, which I actually really enjoyed teaching environmental biology. That was just something new for me that I hadn't taught in the past. I have taught Plants and Society, which is also a fun class. And, it's kind of very general, everything all the connections that people have with plants. So that was an interesting class to teach. This semester I'm teaching Flora of Virginia. And then actually next semester I'm finally teaching a class for the second time, the Flora of Virginia class, or excuse me, the Plants and Society class. So the Flora of Virginia class they offer this semester, the fall semester. I have put in a request that I would really like to teach it in the spring, because we go over a lot of basic botany that we can do, you know, early in the semester, and then enjoy the spring ephemerals and watching the plants leaf out and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm really hoping that they'll allow us to offer that class in the spring, and maybe alternate spring and fall for the Flora of Virginia class. But for that class, we have a lab, and we pretty much spend most of our time at Wildwood Park.
Do you use the app for the Flora of Virginia?
So I have it on my phone, but it costs $20, and so
It's worth it, though.
Yeah, it is, but they're for the students,
Yeah.
we do not use it. Well, you
Mhm.
know, I told them about it, and some of them got it, but most of them did not, because there are a variety of other apps, you know, the iNaturalist and such, that they don't have to pay $20 for, that, you know, have been equally helpful to them. So we don't exclusively use that app for the class, nor do we exclusively use the textbook as well. But it's been a really fun class to teach. We talk, of course, about natives, but we also very much emphasize the invasives as well, and talk a lot about different threats to our natives and conservation of natives and that kind of thing.
What kind of outreach do you do?
Well, I mean, with the pandemic, it's been pretty much nothing, you know, because can't do a whole lot. And, you know, just like I said, I haven't even been here 2 years yet. So I'm just getting myself established and teaching and getting this greenhouse, trying to get this greenhouse established. So I plan to eventually do more outreach. Right now, I've done, you know, just a few like greenhouse tours for a couple of different groups, and that plant club has been outreach for the university. And there's been a few community people are welcome to join us for the plant club as well. We haven't advertised it because just the university was weird for a while about bringing guests onto campus, you know, just the whole pandemic thing. So that certainly has limited what we have been able to do, and has changed things up, and has made teaching more challenging, and so has slowed things down. But do plan to do more outreach as time goes on and we get things established.
Have you done any tree walks similar to what they've done at Tech and that, then showing off the trees and telling people about them? Or is that for the future?
Yeah, well, so John Kell, many of you probably know John Kell. He is faculty here in the biology department as well, and he has been doing tree walks on campus for years. So he has offered a good number of tree walks for a variety, you know, again, it's mostly been Radford University community since the pandemic, because they weren't having people come onto campus. But he very much enjoys doing those tree walks. So, you know, I just assume he continue with those. I do tree walks for my students and such, both on campus, but we spend most of our time at Wildwood.
Okay. Well, Wildwood is such amazing in that. And you've got Gary Cote in that too for that. So. Oh
yeah. He's done a guest lecture actually for our first lab there. He did a guest lecture so he could, you know, just talk about the history of Wildwood and all of that. So yeah, he's very knowledgeable, and he's been very involved with I have a number of plants that have been donated by Gary as well. I just picked up a bunch of plants at his house as he's going to be moving next year. So he's slowly like pawning off his plant collections, which he has a lot of plants.
Do you have any lichens or mosses? I saw the lycopodiums, but.
Yeah, we have lycopodiums. We don't have any true lichens or mosses at this time in the greenhouse. You know, it's kind of a challenging place for them to grow, really. I mean, because it's a
Yeah.
tropical greenhouse. We don't, you know, it would be
Mhm.
nice to have more sections of the greenhouse that
Mhm.
we can, you know, regulate for, you know, to more temperate plants. But
Yeah, because the
you know,
lichens you could have like for the symbiosis and things like that, so.
right, exactly.
Okay, Barb Walker wants to know which coreopsis did you plant?
Oh, which coreopsis do we have out there? Tinctoria. Let me see. I have to look because I forget now. I'm sorry, I'm walking back into my office here to try to remember because I have a list of just the ones. Oh yeah, it's Coreopsis major.
Major, okay.
Mm-hmm.
In your pollinator garden out front, that's the
Oops.
one?
Yep,
Oh, thank you.
you're welcome. Yes, Barbara, you
Um,
do the pollinator garden at
Pandapus, right.
Pandapus. Sorry, my brain is starting to be done for the day. Right, right. If we could share any of our plants or seeds with you, just feel free to get in touch.
Okay, I will do that. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
let's see, Denise Hendon says that it's so neat that you are reaching out to the campus population by giving away plants. An open house, maybe someday too?
Absolutely. Once all this pandemic stuff's passed, which it's hopefully getting close to. But yes, definitely would love to do. That's, you know, was the initial idea of once we got the greenhouse populated and had some plants in here that we would have a open house kind of thing, but just the pandemic didn't allow for that, unfortunately. So we've done some things, you know, just again with the university community because they're already here. And so we've done some things
Well,
for.
they're your test guinea pigs anyways too, so.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Carol Schwabel says you've been busy. And what is your email there?
I certainly have been busy. My email address is shuckestein, my last name. So it's SHUCKESTEIN at radford.edu. Shuckestein at radford.edu.
Okay, and Bruce Grimes wanted to know which pollinators are being studied by your department members.
Oh, good question. I don't really, you know, I've been so busy that I honestly don't know a whole lot of who else is doing what, but I know that we're out there with some of their, they do a lot of undergraduate research here, which I think is really cool. All of the undergrad students, particularly in biology, I don't know about other departments, but they all do undergraduate research projects, which is really awesome. That's not something I saw so much at Tech, occasionally, but now it's like here, all students do it. So honestly, I'm always so busy. I don't really know who has what going on, but I do know that Dr. Foltz and Dr. Small have both utilized the beds out there. So I actually really should find out more about what they did because I honestly don't know. But I do know that there's a lot of pollinators out there. It's pretty impressive.
And Barb Walker says it's been a really fun tour. You've accomplished so much in 18 months, and you definitely have, you and your plants. So
it's been busy, that's for sure. It's been a lot of fun. It's been super busy and it's been super challenging, but I'm enjoying it.
Good. Does anybody have any more questions? Okay, if not, then thank you very much, Stephanie. It's been a pleasure in that. And because my sister and I was there, what, a year ago or something, and you were just starting out in the native garden and that, so.
That's right. You'll have to come back. Yeah, you know, to make another visit. Semester's over soon. We only have a couple weeks left. Then we have Thanksgiving break and then we are done, which is amazing. It went really, really fast. Good. Well,
Okay.
thanks for having me, and I'm ready to go home. It's been a long day.
Okay, well, thank you very much then. And thank everybody else for
Thank
showing
you.
up for this Zoom. And remember that next month, December's chapter meeting will be on the first Tuesday, December the 7th. And that will be our holiday party. It will be at the Blacksburg Library in the meeting room there at 7 p.m. You can bring finger food and either eat it there or take it home to eat there. And we'll be showing off people's photos, their memories, some of the places they've been, any experiences they've had with books, websites, things like that. So I hope to see a lot of people either there in person or via Zoom. So everybody have a nice Thanksgiving, and we'll see you soon then.
Thanks, Brenda.
Okay. Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Night.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Night.